Hey guys, welcome back to another Honkai Star Rail video. Hope you're enjoying the game as much as I am, and I hope you also got lucky with your pulls and managed to get whoever your waifu or husbando is. I wanted to do something a bit different than what I normally would do and talk about my favorite character in HSR so far, Seele. Yes, I know, shocker, Jingyuan is not my favorite character, you can witch hunt me now. No, but seriously, despite not being a Honkai 3rd player, my favorite unit during the beta was Seele for reasons I'm sure everyone else also has. I'm not actually sure if the two are canonically the same, but I am aware of Seele from Honkai 3rd, and the two have very contrasting personalities right down to how they interact with their respective games Bronya. Now, in light of her being the first featured 5-star unit, today's video is going to be a breakdown on Seele. I'll be going over her abilities, usage in combat, when and why you should use her, some pros and cons, and then some early game suggestions on what to build on her and who to pair her up with. I should mention there are scores of other players who are more qualified to talk about meta and endgame stuff than me, but Star Rail just came out, so naturally you should take this as general reference, not law. Where to begin? Probably should open up with the question, is she worth pulling for? And the answer is a very emphatic yes. Before even going through this video, Seele is without question one of the most powerful characters in the game as we know it. If you're a fan of high-speed rushdown playstyles, then Seele is as close as you can get in Star Rail, but what's interesting about her is that contrary to what her path designates, she can serve you very well as an overall universal damage dealer for basically everything in the game. To start, her properties. She's a 5-star character, which inherently means you're gonna have to pray to RNGs just to get your hands on her, and she belongs to the quantum element, being presently the only playable 5-star quantum character right now, and one of the only 2 quantum units in the game, with the other being Qingce. As stated earlier, her designated path is the hunt, meaning single target damage. However, this may be a bit misleading due to a specific attribute within her kit. Going through her abilities, her basic attack is the whack. It's a normal attack just like everyone else's that deals quantum damage to a single target. As for her skill Sheath Blade, she does increase damage to a single target before increasing her speed by 25% for 2 turns, making it easy for her to act again, usually before the enemy gets to. Speed and the notions that come with it are the focal point of her gameplay. If we take a look at her second trace, Rippling Waves, using the whack will advance her next action forward by 20%. Further accelerating the number of turns you have on her throughout a fight, to the point where she can theoretically act twice over multiple times throughout a fight. If that wasn't enough, her passive talent Resurgence is the main reason why her designation is misleading. Whenever she takes down an enemy, she gains Resurgence, increasing her total damage for 1 turn and letting her act again immediately. While it requires her to deal the finishing blow to a target, if she manages to do so, you can effectively attack 2 enemies at once for heavy damage every turn. The condition is that Resurgence can't refresh itself, so you can't chain one after another, but that's a bit of a moot point because her basic attack and skill both increase her speed anyway. If you're lucky enough to have Bronya on your team and use her skill after Seele finishes her turn, then you can potentially give Seele 4 turns in a row, making it quite easy for her to sweep entire teams by herself provided you one-shot every enemy. Which isn't a tall order considering she specializes in single target assassination, and if you include her ultimate Butterfly Fury, that brings you up to 3 attacks per turn or 5 with Bronya. Speaking of her ultimate, it's a heavy burst damage nuke on a single target. Essentially, Seele is all about single target damage, but thanks to Resurgence and exceptionally high speed, she can attack multiple times per turn, hence why I said she can double as a multi-target clearer in the right circumstances. True to her speedy nature, her main defense is in evasion. Her technique, Phantom Illusion, makes her undetectable by enemies in the overworld, and when striking first, she automatically gains a damage bonus from Resurgence at the beginning of the fight. Her first trace, Nightshade, also lowers the chance of her getting attacked in combat when below half health. Obviously, that alone doesn't make her invincible, but she can take care of herself reasonably well. As for her third trace, Lacerate, she gains 20% quantum penetration while buffed, making it even easier for her to one-shot her target to gain Resurgence. Resistance penetration is exceedingly rare in the early game and acts as a separate multiplier factored in after all other calculations, so you can think of this as unconditional bonus damage. From just her skills and traces, you can assess that she's a burst-oriented sweeper and can rack up serious damage on a single target. In terms of sheer overall DPS, I'd wager she might be the strongest in the game, although it's still a bit early to make a definitive statement on that. Now, let's check her Eidolons. Unsurprisingly, they serve to further augment her playstyle. Extirpating Slash gives her 15% bonus crit against targets below 80% health. Realistically, I don't find this to be the most useful Eidolon, seeing as against normal mooks you're trying to kill them straight from 100 to 0, but if you have someone else on your team who can deal a bit of damage to everyone, then Seele can finish the rest. Dancing Butterfly allows her to stack the speed boost of Sheath Blade up to 2 times. This can be beneficial in long drawn-out fights as it grants her more turns over the course of several rotations. Flitting Phantasm may look a bit underwhelming as all it does is give her energy when taking down an enemy, but it gives her ultimate incredible uptime, especially against clusters of enemies where she can strike all of them down one at a time. Finally, Shattering Shambles enhances her ultimate. For 1 turn after using Butterfly Flurry, she inflicts a debuff on the target, causing them to sustain 15% of her ultimate's damage whenever they get attacked by any of your party members. Damage, damage, damage. That's the gist of her gameplay. At a glance, it may come off as selfish if not monotonous, but trust me when I say it's pretty fun forming a team around super buffing her than watching her insta-clear waves of enemies by herself. In Star Rail, class designations are pretty stringent, as the single target units and multi-target units are kept within their respective jobs with seldom any compromise. Seele is one exception. She has deceptively good, albeit roundabout damage potential against multiple targets, which ultimately makes her exceptional against bosses and waves, and like I said, she currently possesses the highest damage potential in the game, therefore any external support you provide to her will earn more mileage than on other DPSers. Now that we've gone through her kit, let's talk builds. In my personal opinion, her Eidolons are skippable. Not saying they're bad by any means, but you can rest assured she's fully usable without needing to pull for copies of her. All her Eidolons really do is increase her uptime and efficiency, but she has plenty of both already. Weapon-wise, her signature light cone in the night is naturally her best one, giving a passive crit rate boost as well as buffing the holder's basic attack and skill damage as well as ultimate crit damage for every 10 points of speed above 100 they have, stacking up to 6 times. Because of the flat requirement, you won't be able to get the full effects of this weapon until Seele is at a higher level, but once you do, you're practically getting free damage on all of your combat options. Being her signature light cone though, Seele can easily meet that speed requirement and then some. If you can't afford wailing for her weapon, then here are some alternatives. Arrows is a decent 3-star choice, giving you bonus crit rate at the start of a fight for the first 3 turns. Usually 3 turns is all you need for non-boss fights anyway. Only Silence Remains is a bit more situational as you need to fight 2 or less enemies to get the bonus crit rate, but remember she's just as good of a boss killer as she is a sweeper, so that's not a problem whatsoever. You can also easily make use of any of the other 5-star light cones for hunt units. Sleep Like the Dead is also very crit oriented, and Cruising in the Stellar Sea complements her mob clearing very nicely. Overall, you want to focus on crit stats for Seele to maximize her damage per hit. As for relics, it's still early to tell how good they are on every character, but the consensus is to aim for a 4-piece Genius of Brilliant Stars, or GBS, the quantum damage set. The 2-piece effect increases quantum damage by 10%, and the 4-piece ignores 25% of a target's defense if they have a quantum weakness. For Sphere and Rope, I would go for Celestial Differentiator. The 2-piece bonus awards you with 8% crit rate and grants bonus damage on your attack and skill when at 80% crit or higher, all things you want on Seele. As for your main stats, you'll want crit rate on the body, speed on feet, quantum damage on the planar sphere, and either attack percent or energy regen on the link rope. For your substats, your priority will be the same thing. Aim for crit stats as much as possible, crit rate and crit damage, then go for speed and attack to maximize her uptime. Seele is a very straightforward character, but that's what makes her not only extremely effective, but an ideal choice for the first featured 5-star. At the beginning of the game, you'll definitely want to get your hands on a strong damage dealer to help you clear most of the game's content. Mind you, no man is an island, or in this case woman, and having the right support is paramount to succeeding in this game just like any other gacha. Team building is still in its theory crafting stages, but one support that pairs famously well with Seele is Bronya, courtesy of her skill combat redeployment, letting them act immediately after her. I did reference this earlier in the video, but by using Bronya's skill, you can have Seele act up to 4 times in a row, or 5 if we include her ultimate. It's quite fitting, seeing as how these two share a deep connection not just in this game, but in Honkai 3rd. If you somehow get lucky and pull for both, or have the wherewithal to wail on this game, Bronya is Seele's best support by far. She's also the best support in general, I think, so consider yourself fortunate if you get her. Anyways, I think that's going to be it for the Seele guide. TLDR, extremely fast, extremely strong, good for bossing, and surprisingly good for clearing if you get her to that point. Maximize crit rate, crit damage, and speed on her relics, and prioritize light cones with a focus on crit as well. Fantastic unit that I'm enjoying a ton, and I think you will too. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. But aside from that, if you enjoyed the video, it would be awesome if you left a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Vars, join my Discord server, and check out my beginner's guide on Honkai Star Rail if you haven't yet. For now though, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon in the next one. Take care.